The president of the Swaziland National Union of Student Affairs, Colani Maseko, has reportedly been abducted by 10 law enforcement officials. According to eyewitnesses, Maseko, who has been long a critic of King Mswati, was kidnapped whilst on his way to Nazarene University. Eyewitnesses said that a pedestrian who was trying to take pictures of the incident was heavily assaulted by the police and grabbed as well. Maseko has been one of the significant leaders who was fighting for the democracy of the Eswatini people. Meanwhile, student activists are calling for Maseko's immediate release and members of parliament who were arrested during pro-democracy protests last year. Lukhele is the spokesperson for the pro-democracy Swaziland Solidarity Network, SSN, and he joins us now via Zoom. Mr. Lukhele, thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Peter, and good evening to the viewers at home.
All right. Tell us what you know in terms of why the authorities may have taken Colani Maseko.
Well, Comrade Colani Maseko has been, as you correctly stated in your intro, that is one of the activists that has been actively calling for not only democratization, but first it for students to get all necessary requirements, like it is normally happening in all countries that cares for their children's future. One of them was to call for scholarships to be given to the students, and also to then say to call for direct lecturers now, given that the COVID has gone down. Another thing that he was not apologetic about, like you have said it earlier, was to call for democratization of Swaziland, including the release of all political prisoners. One of them, Amos Mbenzi, a South African citizen, the two currently incarcerated MPs, and the return of all exiles that have been exiled since 1983 by the Swazi regime. So he has been very much consistent of that. And indeed, he was abducted as he was about to enter his college, where he is currently studying, by the evil regime police officers. And they tried to hide this thing, but luckily there were witnesses that saw all these things happening, which then resulted to the country to come into standstill in Manzini, where he was held. And other students as well that he was with were also taken in just for merely being witnesses.
What's the state of play now? Is he still in police custody? And the fellow students that were taken as well, have the police said anything?
Well, the other students have been released, of course, due to the pressure by the student movement and the pro-democracy movement. He is the only one now that has been charged formally. He appeared in the magistrate court in Manzini, and he will appear again next week, Wednesday. The charges currently that we can confirm are two. One is that it's sedition. The second one is that he has is malicious damage of property, which is very, very bizarre. We don't know which property is damaged and whose property is it. So we will then wait with the lawyers and all comrades to then get all the evidence as to what exactly malicious damage he has committed. He's a very decent young man who just want one thing: democracy for the people of Swaziland and decent education for the poorest of the poor of the people of Swaziland.
There are reports that he took down the pictures of the king at the university and destroyed these pictures, and this is what they're describing as malicious damage to property.
Well, that we have heard about, like we've indicated as well, that it is a case that is yet to appear in court. So we will not want to then enter that space, but for instance, damaging a picture that is in my space of education or my space of work of an individual that I feel strongly that he has committed heinous crime to the people of Swaziland, it can't be a crime. Actually, the person or that person that appears in that picture, in this case, which is King Mswati, is the person that we are expecting the international community to charge him with crime against humanity. So the king has no right or authority to even charge any Swazi given what he has committed in the recent months and days.
Sedition, the official definition is conduct or speech that incites people to rebel against a head of state or a monarch. Is that not what he's doing?
Well, if he is charged for that, all of us are pleading guilty and are siding with him precisely because since June 29, King Mswati has killed more than 100 people, citizens. Now, you then ask yourself, when is he appearing in court? Colani Maseko is merely communicating demands of the students and the youth of Swaziland, and indeed, he is with us. He's not just communicating his personal views, because as a leader, you do not have personal views, you communicate views of society. Society has already demanded that the king be arrested as a matter of urgency. However, we also wish to indicate that this is a blessing in disguise to the SADC Trokia team led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, as he has committed that he will be deploying former Minister Jeff Hadebe to then understand the complexity and the nature of the brutality that the ordinary people of Swaziland faces on a daily basis.
Former Minister Hadebe has been to Eswatini. Are we saying that his efforts so far have fallen on deaf ears?
Well, we really cannot really go to that extent. However, as per the request of the king, he had requested that he was busy with his rituals, where he'd perform his backward rituals, where he thinks that from December or November up until the end of February, he will come back as a stronger person. Yesterday, for instance, he had a prayer meeting where instead, again, he has lost another opportunity to apologize to the people of Swaziland for killing them and also injuring those that are injured. Instead of apologizing, his prayer was centered around people that he even quoting things that are not even in the Bible, to say people or Jesus at some point decided just to push away the water or the sea water for people to walk, literally indicating that he is a mighty individual over the people of Swaziland. However, this evidence of the arrest of Colani Maseko, it's an evidence enough for the SADC team to understand that here we're dealing with a mentally disturbed individual that does not even appreciate even when he is being assisted to sort the crisis in Swaziland, which may result in something extremely or never seen before anywhere in the world. The anger of the people of Swaziland has gone past the word anger.
Are you fearful about the fate of Colani Maseko in custody? There have been stories before of people being taken into custody and political prisoners often being tortured.
We are fearful, of course. We have just been told, remember that he was arrested early in the morning. I can safely say exactly 8:15 this morning. He has not eaten anything since then. Now, we don't know his medical status. How is he? That's the first worry that we are. Of course, we are worried not only about Colani, but all other prisoners. We have Amos Mbenze, that as we speak right now, he is literally in a wheelchair and being taken care of by ordinary prisoners, and he is on diapers. Now, here is a situation where you have a country that does not even have a viper of sense of humanity to even think that Amos Mbenze deserves to be released for the care of his family. We know that the king has been looking for Colani Maseko for some time, and eventually he has sent his militia to take him in. And tomorrow morning, the pro-democracy movement, led by the Premier Liberation Movement, Pudemo, they'll be going in with the lawyers to get all the details and also to find a way out of him, including his medication and food. Indeed, we are worried.
All right, perhaps finally, since the June protests of last year, are we saying that nothing has improved since then, that all the overtures towards some kind of discussions and dialogue, nothing has changed? People continue to be arrested, people continue to be harassed, and freedom of speech continues to be curtailed, and the king continues to rule with an iron fist.
Indeed, my brother. In fact, more worse things has been happening since that June 29 up until now. Many more Swazis are being victimized. Journalists are being kicked out of their own land where they have houses. Those that are being or perceived to be seen to be critical or reporting the truth about the king. The only journalists that are only surviving in Swaziland are those that are working for the Swaziland Television, STBAS, and the Swaziland Broadcasting Services, and the Times of Swaziland, together with the Swazi Observer, which I can safely say the Times of Swaziland has always been portrayed as an independent newspaper, which has always been a fallacy. The Times of Swaziland is a newspaper edited by a moonlighter editor, Martin Dlamini, who writes speeches every day for the king. The Swazi Observer is wholly owned by the king now. So journalists, even those that are working for these institutions, are themselves victims of this barbarian regime. So the situation is actually worse than it was, because the violence is now more silent, it's no longer reported. Hence the world assume that all in Swaziland is well. So there is silent brutality that is currently going on in Swaziland. Innocent people, even if they've committed a simplest crime, like picking a tomato to eat, they are being killed by the Swazi state militia, as instructed by King Mswati. So the situation is quite worse than it was before. Not to say that those that have died, they died in vain. The struggle continues as they have started at that particular time.
Mr. Lukhele, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, but we wish all of your people the best, and let's hope some kind of solution is found quite soon. Thank you so much for your time.
We welcome the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.